We are back to reconvene open session. We recognize that the Mount Diablo Unified School District sits on the territory of the Confederated Villages of Lisjan, the ancestral and unceded land of the Bay, Miwok, and Northern Yokut, the successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Contra Costa County. As members of the MDUSD community, it is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land on which we learn, but also we recognize that the land we inhabit and learn on is the ancestral land of these people who are alive and flourishing members of MDUSD and broader Bay Area communities today. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Six point zero preliminary business. We're there. 6.2 review and potential approval of the minutes for the regular board meeting. I'll take a motion.
Madam President, I move to approve the minutes for the regular board meeting.
I'll second that.
Trustee Barrios.
Yes.
There you go. Okay. Okay. Should be there. And that passes unanimously. 6.3, review and potential approval of the agenda. Any changes?
Madam President, I move we approve the board agenda as presented with the exception of 13.14.
I'll second that.
Trustee Barrios.
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. 7.0, report out action on action taken in closed session. 7.1, negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, and we received information. And we're missing one. 7.2, discipline, dismissal, release, or reassignment of public employee, Government Code Section 54957B1, receive information. And we reported that we were going to do in 3.3, we would have a public employee performance evaluation superintendent, which we did, and we received information. Any public comments? Oh. Okay, interesting. 9.1, district communications. There's no public comment, so we'll move on to 9.1. District communications. At regular board meetings, a single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentation. Items are limited to those which are informational. And we have Julia Jameson first. Is your mic on? I'm sorry.
Is my mic
There we
on?
go.
There we go. My name is Julia Jameson, and Anita has invited me to give the organizational report of the Mount Diablo Education Association tonight in my capacity as the chair of Medea's bargaining team. Tonight, MDUSD and Medea exchange initial proposals in the first formal step of the collective bargaining process. On this occasion, I will begin with hope. It is my sincere hope that the union and district can work collaboratively to reach an agreement that serves students by respecting and valuing educators. Medea's initial proposal is extensive because our leadership and team have dedicated time to listen to our membership. Every proposal that we intend to present originates with a request from one or more of our members. We take seriously our responsibility to represent the will of our members during negotiations, and we firmly believe that our proposals will improve learning conditions for our students. Negotiations can easily become contentious. Compromise is often difficult. However, collaboration is possible when each party treats the other with respect. I ask that you direct your team to come to the table with proposals that respect educators as the professionals we are. Provide Medea with the information we need to evaluate your proposals. Present us with data in a transparent, straightforward manner. Explain the rationale for your proposals in a way that anticipates our questions and potential concerns. Listen when we disagree. We are the service you provide. Our existence enables schools to be institutions of education. Without us, you cannot educate students. Treat us accordingly. In return, I make this commitment to you. Our team will demonstrate our respect through diligent, consistent, and efficient work throughout the bargaining process. We will not make any demands that legitimately imperil the financial health of the district. We will keep the best interest of students in mind at all times. We will work with you to create an agreement that serves students, educators, and the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina Filios.
Good evening, President Nzewi, Vice President McFerrin, Board Trustees, and Dr. Clark. On behalf of our Diablo Managers Association, certificated and classified managers and confidential staff, I would like to thank you for passing the board resolution recognizing the week of October 8th through 14th as the week of the school administrator. Across our state, districts and county offices of education are taking time this week to recognize the pivotal role our site, district, and department leaders play in the success of our students. As a Region 6 charter of the Association of California School Administrators, DMA shares the ACSA mission to advocate in the best interests of students and to develop, empower, and inspire equity-minded educational leaders. As noted in the board resolution, the title school administrator is a broad term used to define many educational leadership posts, which include the district executive team, principals, assistant principals, special education and adult education leaders, curriculum and assessment leaders, school business officials, classified educational leaders, and other school district employees. We know that true leadership is a team effort. Across our district, from our infant programs to adult education, dedicated administrators are putting students at the center of our work. Together, we can ensure that all students in Mount Diablo Unified School District are supported in achieving at high levels in safe and welcoming environments where they know that we care and they matter. Thank you for your support of our important work.
Thank you. 10.0 recognitions and resolutions. Review and potential 10.1 review and potential approval of resolution 2324-24 proclaiming October 23rd to 31st as Red Ribbon Week.
Thank you, Madam President. I will share the resolution, the proposed resolution. Whereas alcohol and other drug abuse in this nation has reached epidemic stages, and whereas substance abuse is particularly damaging to one of our most valuable resources, our children. And now therefore, the governing board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District hereby declares October 23rd through the 31st of 2023 as Red Ribbon Week, and encourages its staff and students to participate in drug prevention education activities, making a visible statement that we are strongly committed to a drug-free community. And be it further resolved that the governing board of Mount Diablo Unified School District urges its students, parents, guardians, teachers, administrators, and employees to pledge ongoing support of the 2023 Red Ribbon Week theme, which is Be Kind to Your Mind, Live Drug-Free. Madam President, this resolution is now in the hands of the board.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion or comments.
Madam President, I move the board approve resolution 23/24, number 24, proclaiming October 23rd through October 31st, 2023 as Red Ribbon Week.
I'll second that.
Trustee Barrios.
Yes.
And that passes yet again unanimously. How many red ribbons does this make? Since I was a kid, you had Red Ribbon Week. You obviously had Red Ribbon Week.
Yes, but this year we have fentanyl trainings, which we
Right.
didn't have when we were a kid. So
that did not happen.
there is one next Thursday
Yes, there
coming up.
saw it in my school newsletter. Oh my gosh, board member reports. Sorry. 6:17, you guys. Board member reports. Would anyone like to volunteer to go first? Yeah.
Mine is really fast because I was out of town for a little while. I went to the ABAR meeting that was led by the fabulous Dr. Sucky Smith, and it was a very engaging meeting. And I also went to the Holbrook Walk to School Day. And walked to school with the kids at Holbrook, and it was very nice. Dr. Clark joined us as well.
Who would like to go next?
I will. I attended the Parent Advisory Committee meeting on September 28th. And then on October 3rd, we attended the CAC meeting. On Sunday, I attended the Concord Historical Society fundraising event, and it was a delightful event out in a garden. And I hope that more folks would look at the programs that the Concord Historical Society presents.
Mhm. Thank you. Trustee Count, do you have? Yes, you do.
Okay, I have a longer one. Sorry. That's not that long though. So I enjoyed running in the Break a Sweat run, which was a great way to celebrate my 50th birthday, and while also seeing students, teachers, and families from so many of our schools. So that was really great. Thank you to everyone who came out. I also enjoyed getting to see the Special Olympics out at Gregory Gardens, which is a wonderful example of teamwork between so many of our students and giving them leadership roles and building an inclusive community, which I really enjoyed. I really wanted to attend some of Monday's excellent selections of professional development, but I was unable to because my family was hosting a few peace activists who were visiting here from Israel and Palestine, and they're now stranded here at this point. One of the things that they pointed out to me is that one of the most important things for us to do is to maintain our humanity through really, really difficult times. I just wanted to say that, our hearts are broken by the unprecedented massacre of Israeli people by Hamas. And as this war unfolds, we know that there are growing casualties, particularly of innocent civilians in Gaza and Israel. And so we are here to support the many members of our community who have family and friends in the region. And so I just want everyone to know that our thoughts are with you during this really tragic time. And I know that many of our educators and staff may be impacted by this as well. When horrifying violence occurs, it can be very challenging to discuss and process for all of us, but I think especially for children. And so one of the things that I've been sharing out, and many of our educators have been sharing out as well, are resources to be able to help discuss these difficult things. So one of the resources came from the San Diego County Office of Education, and I just wanted to share a few of the words that they said. The terror attack perpetuated by Hamas against Israel and resulting declaration of war by Israel against Hamas in the Gaza Strip has led to numerous casualties and injuries on both sides. There's an ongoing hostage crisis of Israeli citizens being held in Gaza and millions of innocent civilians in harm's way. The effects are far-reaching, with images of the war being broadcast on TV and shared on social media. Emotional impacts can be felt here at home, especially with our young people and those with connections to the region. California is home to students and staff with cultural ties to Israel and Palestine, and has seen a rise in anti-Semitic and Islamophobic incidents even before the outbreak of war. As educators, we must make sure we provide a safe space for all members of our community to learn about current events and process their emotions. So it's likely that our students have been following these events or have overheard conversations or are curious about the cause and impacts this war may have, both globally and locally. So to help students better understand this event and to place it in a broader context, the San Diego County Office of Education gathered history, social science, mental health, and social emotional learning resources to support teachers and families in assisting students. And you can find that at sdcoe.net. So I just wanted to share that because I think it's something that our educators and our school sites may find is coming up at all different times. And so it's important to create safe spaces for our students to allow our students and staff ways to be able to process, to discourage students from sharing or consuming these violent images, understanding the psychological distress that it can cause, and sharing grounding and centering techniques with everyone. So that I just wanted to share that. But on a brighter note, I do want to say happy week of school administrator to Dr. Clark, our illustrious superintendent. I want to thank you for your leadership, for the way that you have built a partnership and a team between this board and yourself and the district as a whole for us to be able to really focus on working for the good of all of our students throughout our schools. So thank you very much. And thank you to all of our administrators at all the different levels throughout our school sites. Thank you.
Trustee Barros? I had a meeting with Dr. Clark and we shared a few ideas. I think for me, one of the most interesting ones, because it's like taking effect right now, is getting a second board member. And Dr. Clark had a good idea of one being a senior and one being a junior, because as a senior, you can lead the junior and walk them through the steps of like how to, like what you're doing and the responsibilities. And right now I'm trying to like contact with Anaí so we can talk about some stuff. and either of us are either too busy with some school activities or yeah, we're too busy with like personal stuff. So I think it's a good idea. And I think we also talked about the school meals, and we talked about how he's gonna get me in contact with yeah, with Alex. And I saw the email. And then after he showed me his dogs, which are really cute, humongous dogs. And he was telling me about how he chases them around the street, and I can't get the thought of Dr. Clark chasing dogs down the streets out of my head. And I've been thinking about that all day in class. I'm like, so dumb, so bad. And, and then I showed him my dogs that always get mad at each other. I don't know why. And also I went to the PTSA meeting, which I didn't even know I was a guest speaker until the day of. But Trustee Sharice helped me out with that on like what to say and where it was and the agenda. And I think it's really interesting. I didn't know all that went into the PTSA about getting reps to talk about where the money should go and stuff. It's pretty interesting. And in school, I'm so excited for the career fair. Oh my God. I want to go so bad, but I've been procrastinating, asking for signatures from my teachers because I think they're gonna be like, no, and just send me away. We're like, no, you don't deserve to go. But they're really nice. And I hope I get to see so many things there. I'm excited to go. Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. And right. And thank you for, being a true child and putting all the adults' business out on the street. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't have anything of significance to report. I too got to go to the Young Athletes program at Gregory Gardens. I saw people sign in, like everybody was there, I think. No, well, you were teaching, but I saw everybody else. I came later in the second half. And I do think that's an amazing opportunity for young children to get to do all the things for very young children, and for bigger kids who willingly volunteer and love to make this just such a fun and seemingly competitive event for 4-year-olds. So it was lovely to see on a beautiful day. Most of my time, like for more than ever, I've been much more focused on my own child's school in the past month, which has been good and annoying. So, but I think it's lessons that I can bring to how we approach issues and problems district-wide. So it's a good experience to lean into my own school site. Dr. Clark, it's your turn. Trustee Mayo, it went, yeah.
Well, I decided to take advantage of this open board meeting, so I have about a 50-minute presentation here. So. Couple things, just, I always want to just keep us grounded on what our LCAP goals are. And this really does represent all of our students, all of our families, and all of our employees within the district. And this truly is what we strive for. Not always there yet, but the intent is to eventually get there. So just again, want to get these goals in front of people each and every time I have an opportunity to. And again, our partners, CCEE, we continue to work with them. We continue to have at least meetings every other week, and they have really been present in our district at many of our trainings and many of our activities. And so they really have a front row view at what's going on throughout Mount Diablo, and they truly are impressed with the progress that we've made and the steps that we're taking to really truly support all of our students. I'm going to share some data, and so our teachers and schools, principals and whatnot have presented baseline English language arts and math to our students. So first of all, if I can just kind of read kind of what it is that we're assessing and the what we're using it for. So students in K through 12 take a beginning of the year assessment to create a baseline, right? We all know that our SBAC scores come at the end of the year, and oftentimes we don't get them until the following year. So this is really a way that we can have real-time data in the hands of all of our teachers and admins, and one day even get it in the hands of our parents, hopefully. Math participation. So again, students in kindergarten through grade 8, and also students in algebra 1, geometry, and algebra 2 take the beginning of the year assessment. The scoring, the assessments are based on grade level standards and measured on above, met, near, and below standard scale. And the baseline assessments display students' performance on what they are expected to do and know by the end of the year. So this truly is a formative assessment and not a summative assessment. Just again, formative you use to form instruction, to form practices. Summative is a summation of the year, of the unit, of the chapter. It's kind of the end of the year thing. So we have our, I know this is small up there and definitely I don't have my glasses, so I have an issue with it. But if you look at the bottom percentages, those are below standard. So that's where we would expect some students to be if they haven't been exposed to that yet. The yellow is near standard, and the green is met standard, and then the blue, which is pretty light for everybody, for all of our student groups, is above standard. And just so I can just read it from left to right, that's our overall score. You see 57, 50, yeah, I can't read that. So, but we have overall, we have our Black African-American students, we have our American Indian and Alaskan Native, we have our Asian students, Hispanic Latino, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, and we have our white students and 2 or more race students. Then we move over to our socioeconomically disadvantaged students, our English learners, students with disabilities, and homeless and foster youth and homeless students. So you can see where they come out in English language arts. So again, this is our baseline. This is where we're starting off at. And just a quick summary: participation rate 85%. Of K through 12 actually did the assessment. So I want to give hats off to those 85% who actually did it. The other 15%, that's something that we'll continue to work on. But thank you to those teachers who did complete their assessments. 13% of our students overall were meeting or above standards, and 35% of our students were near standard, and 52% were below standard. So again, I think this just highlights, the challenges of our classrooms, right? There are not a one-size-fits-all approach is not going to work, because right here the data shows you that you have students basically operating at 3 or 4 different levels within a class, and probably if you got very, very micro, you would see that it's even more levels than that. Our focal scholars are Black African-American students, foster youth, students experiencing homelessness, our students with IEPs, emerging bilingual students, all display larger distributions of students performing below standards. So as much as 12 to 32% compared to the overall students, and smaller distributions of students. So again, this is our target. These are our target students. It's not that we're not also working with our students who are meeting standards. They're in our classrooms each and every day, and we still have to meet their needs. But this is clearly groups of students that we need to pay special attention to and apply resources and effort to. And then this is similar in math. I'm not going to read all this again. This is posted online, but you can you can see those wide below standard areas. And again, it just says below standard. It doesn't say like how far below standard. Again, the individual assessments will allow for that data to be teased out and pulled out. But for this purpose, you can just really see, you know, foster youth is a target. Homeless students are a target. Our you know, American Indian, Alaskan Native students are a target here, and you can see other students who are in the 80 and 70% range. Would really provide us an opportunity to you know, to provide you know, good instruction to these students, connections with families, connections with the students, and to really you know, help all of our students achieve at high levels. And again, the participation is 85%. You can see the distributions, 11%, meeting or above, 29%, near 60% of students were below standards. And again, those targeted groups over to the right are still have the highest level of students in the below standard. And so in my evaluation, this is that bottom band are the ones that I really want to see the change in throughout the year. So want to share the assessment calendar. So what I did was I just kept it even. I went 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So as you can see, when it shows here on the far left, what subject are we assessing? So we have language arts, we have math, and we have social emotional learning. I know that we implemented that during the pandemic. And then the very bottom is our English language reclassification. Then as you go over to the right, what system to use. So we're using iReady, and we're using Illuminate, and iReady and Illuminate. And then it has the when to administer. So like for the baseline, that was that window was open from August 14th to August 31st. So teachers had 2 weeks to do that initial assessment. And then it shows how to administer. So if you click on those links, and this is all live on our website, you just go to departments, and it's the very first thing, it's in alphabetical order, and it's you go to curriculum and instruction, and then as soon as you click on it, the very top one is assessment. You click on there, and it has all of this here. I just pulled this directly off our website. And then it says how to administer. So you have directions, you have all the information you need of how to administer, and then need more information. There's even additional resources there. And again, this is for 2nd grade. We'll look over here at 4th grade, very similar. But again, here you have what system to use. So these are loaded into Illuminate. So we have the assessments into our in Illuminate, and we're working on those benchmark assessments. So this would be the IABs or the FIABs. And then how to administer, it's clearly there. And then also the if you need more information. So this is 4th grade. Then we have 6 through 8. And you see it just gets a little different. You do see on the bottom left where there are some that are optional. So so there are some of the assessments, you know, that are not required. So again, you know, it really just lays out so that, you know, teachers can plan. Hopefully parents are accessing this. You know, I know at the in our assessment department, they're using these a great deal. And I know Ms. Sachs and her team you know, really live in this space of assessing where our students are. And then we have our same with high school. And again, high school is Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. And so the assessment schedules are there. These are the assessments that high school students take kind of outside of this. And so we do have our SBAC, they take it in ELA, they take math. And again, in high school, when it comes to the state test, it's only our juniors who test out. So they take ELA, math, science, and then we have the LPAC for our English learners. We have the physical fitness test for our 7th and 9th graders. And we have our Healthy Kids Survey, which is, and again, this is secondary, 7, 9, and 11, but 5th graders also take that as well. So that is, you know, those are our assessments, and that's, you know, that's our now embedded within our curriculum. There's quizzes, there's chapter tests, there's unit tests, things of that nature. But again, being in a district and having a standard local assessment really allows us to see where resources need to be applied to, where there's help, we're hoping and we're working with our teachers so that they can use this data to inform their instruction. Hopefully, they can use that to differentiate, and students are getting feedback on where they are and the things that they are working on. And I know it's extremely complex, but it's something as a district that we have to have. When you don't have the common assessments and whatnot, then you're only relying on chapter tests, which we have no way of really tracking district-wide. And then we're relying on the SBAC test, which comes out at the end of the year. So what do we do to support our teachers and to support our administrators and other support staff in instruction? So we have professional development. We have 5 professional development days throughout the year. You can see there's 2 days in August, and then there's 1 day that's just for classroom prep. And then we have 2 that take place throughout the school year. So we just had Monday was Indigenous Peoples Day. Many people got that day off. Many of our educators came to work that day. If they don't come, then they take a sick day or personal day or whatnot. But we did. Most of our schools had great attendance. But so we have a day in October and we have a day in March. We had 47 a.m. sessions and we had 47 p.m. sessions for individuals to to be able to participate in. Not that you had just a menu approach. Like if you were a science teacher, you had a limited options of what to go to, but there were 47 different. So when we talk about not a one size fits all, we didn't, load everyone into the gym and just give them all the exact same thing. They were all very targeted and gave opportunities for all of our employees to get training. So we had multiple presenters. These are some of the presenters out there, just, adult ed services, HR, MTSS, our equity departments, maintenance department, special ed, student services. And then we have industry partners who also helped with creating presentations. So what did that look like? So again, these are our wonderful TK teachers, and you can just see, I mean, if you look closely at these pictures, like there's nothing but happy faces there. So I know that teachers appreciate opportunities for professional development, and and so I was thrilled to see this. They made some some figurine there or something. I wasn't at this particular training, but superheroes. Okay, good. So again, just being able to to be able to get educators together and work on their craft, obviously is something that was appreciated by this group. Here's another just session, elementary sessions. Those superheroes are closed up, and then we have another group. We also had secondary sessions. You can see over there on the left, that looks like the library from Ignacio Valley High School. I think they were working with Dr. Shelley Holt, but I see two employees there presenting in front of the group. So it's always good when you can get folks to participate. We see that beautiful library over in Mount Diablo High School being used there in the right-hand corner. Not sure what group that was. I think that was PLC. That was PLC work that they were doing at Mount Diablo High School. Our VAPA team had opportunities to meet and to collaborate. Again, with 47, I'm not going to go over all 47 sessions and stuff. This is just a snapshot of the diversity of activities that were provided for our folks. Also, the AVID team getting together in ways they could support our students in AVID, and they're in one of our libraries. Not sure which one, but you see they're using the Promethean board, they're using the laptops, collaborating. This is how the sausage is made, so to speak. This is how, giving opportunities for educators to share best practices, get training, look at student work, look at their processes and procedures, really is helpful. And we're always appreciate professional development days and would love to have many, many more of those. We also did something that was, that was relatively new in this district, is we did a training for our substitute teachers. And so this is the Concord High MU, and myself and Dr. Aguili was there to both welcome them, but they had a full day meeting with our behaviorists, meeting with special ed staff, meeting with other administrators, counseling and whatnot to give them the tools that they needed. We had surveyed our substitutes, and what they really wanted training on was classroom management. And so we brought folks in there to really give them some of those tools. But listening to some of their stories and just seeing the diversity in the room was awesome. Folks who are right out of college, all the way to folks who have retired and are coming back. And some folks, I don't know, I think we had a sub who said they've been subbing in our district for over 20 years. So, so again, I know I shared my story, how I got my start in education as a substitute teacher. Dr. Aguili shared her story of how important these relationships are, and how, teachers and adults with young people really do make lasting impressions that can last a lifetime. So very excited about that. Probably one of the most exciting things is that we have a wonderful partnership going on with our site administrators and the elementary and middle school sites with their instructional leadership teams. And so this was the second half of an all-day training that they're doing that's being led by TNTP. And what the activity here was that everyone in the room, and there was, I don't know, well over 100 people in the room, they were broken up into groups. They weren't able to, I like working with Deborah and stuff, so we are a partner, but they all had to take numbers and they put them in random groups. And then they had a task, a mathematical task to solve. And basically, if you look at that bottom square there, that colored square, those are all different shapes. And the question was, what fraction of the square is each piece? And I know Trustee Cowan could probably do that in her head over there right now. But to see these educators, teachers and principals all working together, on this, and of course they had some questions or whatnot. But so I do have some pictures of this that are just very, very exciting. Here they go again. This is collaboration, and again, they're modeling for what should be happening in the classroom. Those charts that they're writing on is you wipe it off, and you would have thought like Oprah was giving away cars or something, because they gave all the educators these flip charts or whatever, and they really seem to be excited and really like those. And so again, you have folks working together, solving problems, solving mathematical problems, talking about it, demonstrating it, writing it. The only directions were what fraction of the square is each piece. So they had to figure it out. So to see the creativity, people cut up the squares, they recopied them, they were having discussions, they were having arguments, they were having disagreements. They were, and the facilitator actually said, okay, each group can send a spy out to another group for 120 seconds, for 2 minutes. And so then seeing the other folks, someone from the group going to another group and talking. So all this was like a sample of, these are activities that you can lead in your classroom. And the great thing about it is that, again, you have our teachers and administrators working side by side on this and really collaborating. And it was a great feeling throughout the room. And again, let me just go through these pictures again and just show this, because I was super excited. And so then you brought them together in different groups, and you can see this group, just going around in a circle, just really sharing what they value and what they got from this. And this is me standing off to the side with one of our reps from CCEE, and she was just really raving about the process and just seeing this learning take place. So now what's going to happen is they are then going to go back to their staffs and do a PLC with their staffs, where they're going to do a common assignment with their classes. Teachers are going to do this with their classes, and then they're going to come back and talk about the process and talk about how that went, look at student work, examine student work. During this afternoon, the teachers there brought student work and went through a protocol on how to look at student work and calibrate it and talk about what standards the students were doing and which ones met it and which ones didn't, and what they were going to do to accelerate and to remediate. So just I think just a great time. I could call Jen up to talk about it and stuff like that, but it's just really wonderful. I know Margie and Aaron and Chris and you know, Samantha. I mean, it's just a team effort. And again, it's just so nice to see everyone working together in that collaborative space. So that concludes this part of my report. I just want to say a couple things. The Special Olympics, you know, with Robert Shear preschool and Gregory Gardens over there was just absolutely, you know, the highlight of you know, of the week, being able to hang out and see the interaction of the kids, see the staff, and then just most importantly, just to see the parents who were all so excited to see their kids participating, see their kids with you know, with mentors or whatnot. 'Cause these are preschoolers, but they were mentoring with fifth graders there, and just a real special afternoon. I've just been out visiting schools, did some drop-off duty in the parking lot, which kind of brought me back to my old ways, which is just really nice, just welcoming students and, you know, giving those parents that wave as they drop their students off, and then following that up and going into classrooms and talking to teachers and hearing from them. And just, you know, every class I visited was extremely positive. Folks are really excited to be, you know, with their students, and everyone was working hard. So, so with that, that'll conclude my report. If there's any questions.
I did have a question actually way back in the beginning of your report.
Oh, I thought you were expecting to share.
The just on the assessments,
Yeah.
just looking at, so I'm assuming when you had the charts that are baseline, that's combining all grades, all grade
Yes.
levels, right? Okay. And then just looking at the grade 2 assessments, so for language arts and math, we've got both iReady and Illuminate, and each of those are 3 times a year. So I guess my question would be, why are we doing both instead of one or the other? And just because overall, I'm thinking about a second grader from like a parent perspective and thinking about how many times are they tested throughout the year? Is there any way to reduce the amount of testing? Are we actually using the data from every single one of these assessments? So that may be a question for now or for later, but
Right. So
Just wanted to
great.
bring
That's
that up.
something we could definitely kick it back.
wonderful. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do. I have one question.
Yeah, please.
On the assessments, do we get these as parents? Do we know
Right.
Like,
Is there
how
a
our-
parent report?
children assessed?
Come on. Make sure that microphone's on.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, so the first question, this is actually the dual language calendar. So with the dual language students, they end up taking the iReady as the same with our non-dual language, but then dual language will take they do an ELA and an SLA, so Spanish language arts in Illuminate. So for our dual language students, they do end up taking a few extra assessments because we end up measuring their progress and performance in the Spanish language. And then as for parents that to receive reports within each of the systems, teachers can pull up reports and then they send them to home. Sometimes they include them into their progress reports. So a lot of that is found in the need more information in those resources. So we've gone through that and walked them through, pull in certain parent reports and student reports. So they can pull up student, like a quick student report to give to the students. They can pull up a parent report to send them home. And then, so depending on the system, they have like a letter or like just a quick little report that they do that. But then some teachers like to just include it within their progress reports. So then they just give them that data.
So it's, so we don't not automatically get this, like, because I'm like, did I ignore something?
No,
Did I miss
they're not
something?
they're not automatically sent like through the district channels, but
Mhm.
within each class, the teachers can print them out and send them home. We kind of give them the discretion of how they want to kind of communicate with their with their parents with going over the tests with any of the assessment results.
And you know, and I want to, you know, just to address that is that, as I said before, these are formative tests. And so sometimes when you give a parent a formative test and they see that their student isn't scoring at the very, very top on a subject matter that they may not have been exposed to yet, then that may create some anxiety or create some you know, some expectations. So there's also that. And then there's also the other piece on the educator side of grading the formative tests, right? And so truly it's supposed to be a formative tool, as I explained. So I know, you know, we go back and forth with that, but to answer your question, is it's not automatically sent out to
Right.
parents. It is left up to the teacher, I assume.
Yeah, the teacher and the site, they kind of have those options to do that. But exactly what Dr. Clark said, these are formative assessments. And then say, for example, this one, the data that he just showed was the baseline data. So that's kind of the beginning of year data. So it's based off of the end of year standards. So with students that are near standard or below standard, that's kind of that can be an expectation that they're not at standard yet, since we're at the beginning of the school year. Teachers haven't addressed these standards, so it really gives them an insight of where they need to go, and then so to spend more time in certain locations. And then so with what we do with our math ILTs and the TNTP, they are able to take these results and then work with them, getting those proper instructional practices and the scaffolding practices to fill in kind of those gaps.
Yeah, I totally understand that this is a baseline and you wouldn't expect students to be at MET or the whatever one is after that at all. I think as a parent, it would be useful later to see the growth of your own student. So from the beginning of the year to the, speaking as secondary, to the semester, and from the semester to the end of the year. So that, yeah, but that would be interesting, and especially comparing it to the other tests that we have to state test of that. Okay, did the district says we met, my student met, and does the state test say I met, or whatever, you know, whatever the level is. So it would be, to me, and maybe I like data, but sort of, I don't like charts, but but that it would be interesting to know the growth of my own student. And I can't imagine that would be rare. So if there's any way that could be a thing in the future, that parents, we don't need the baseline. I totally agree. Because then you'll just have all these angsty people and like, oh my gosh, they got in what we would deem an F or something on something they don't even know yet. And I know, but it would be great to know growth, and it would, which kind of, I have another question.
Well, that's actually the assessment system that we've developed. That's why moving into this year, we've developed the baseline data and our benchmarks so that we can do that. And then so one of the trainings that was part of the PD was going over with teachers to pull those types of reports that you can see your results for that particular assessment. But once we start giving the benchmarks as we move along the year, that you can see that growth. So you can see that movement of students. And then you also have reports that they can print out for parents to display that growth moving into the end of year SBAC. So,
But it's up to parents to ask for that, unless the teacher is
No,
the
teachers,
one.
they have the discretion of giving out those reports or how they want to communicate with that. So just like what Dr. Clark was saying, that if you give a report out and then it might be interpreted in a way that you didn't want it to, so you want to be able to meet with them and talk about it. So that's why when we've talked to the teachers of how they want to end up doing that.
Is there a way? So the other wondering I have is how the assessments, not this first one, but let's say the assessment in December, or, well, how does that, when we look at our grading practices and grades, like, how do the assessments compare to the grades that students are receiving? I'm totally thinking
Right,
of
you're-
secondary, like, so
Sure.
I know that, like, I'm not thinking of. 'Cause
Yeah,
little kids don't
actually,
get
our first
grades.
quarter just ended, so this is something that we're gonna be pulling our quarter one data and be able to look at that. The window, I mean, the quarter just ended, and then report cards, teachers weren't had till the end of today to do that. So it didn't really align with being able to pull that data and being able to rely on it. But that's something that as we work on our grading practices and making them more standard based, that it will be much more complementary to our assessment and our assessment results. So that's something that they get kind of paired together, and we'll be able to look at that. And then when we give our benchmark assessments, we'll be able to kind of see that growth. And then if there is a huge discrepancy between the grades that students are receiving and their assessment results, that's something that it's good information for that teacher. So they might not have been able to show their performance within their, say, lessons or activities, but then when they take the assessment, they were able to kind of display that performance. So now that gives them kind of that multiple measures of, hey, maybe I was missing something, and I can see that with this student, and we can kind of check on that.
So as you see, we have a very complex system that's there, but it's really meant to inform instruction and not necessarily in a way of ranking our students or whatnot. And I would expect that regardless of where students start, that there's growth.
Right.
And that's what we want to see, and that's what we look for. And we try to provide training and whatnot where we can do that.
Just one quick follow-up, just to be on my previous question, because now I'm looking at the high school, the middle school and high school. Under math, it's also showing Illuminate and MDTP.
Yeah, so MDTP is an assessment that it's provided through UC San Diego, and it's been highly developed and a solid readiness kind of placement exam too. So it gives you that type of information of how prepared are the students coming into that subject as well. So it's giving on certain, it gives once you kind of break that down, and we kind of actually worked on that on the PD day on Monday, is looking at those and seeing now there's certain topics, that certain areas that the students were not as prepared coming in. They can look at that, or they were more prepared going into that subject. So those areas, the teachers can kind of shape their instruction, kind of alter their instruction depending on what they see in the MDTP. So again, we have a couple different assessments so that it provides that multiple measures, because if we have it just coming one way and the students just see that frequently, then if we change it up at all, we're uncertain if they really understand those kind of skills and abilities. But now it's kind of phrased differently. It's coming in a different format. So it's really being able to understand that standard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
All good? All right. Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks, I could help.
Yeah.
Oh, I clicked out of, where are we? So we are on,
Consent.
yeah, sorry, I got confused by the number 19. 13.1, approval of items under consent are, well, there's not, the words on here, but we take them up all together. We've removed 13.14 from the consent agenda. So is there a motion to approve the items on consent?
I would make a motion that we approve the items that remain on the consent agenda.
Second.
Trustee Barrios.
Yes.
Those items pass unanimously. 16.0 business. Review 16.1, review and potential approval of the Williams quarterly report. Are there any questions? If not, we can take our action.
I make a motion, we approve the report as presented.
Second,
Trustee Barrios.
Yes.
And that passes unanimously. And 16.2, public presentation of the initial successor agreement proposal for Mount Diablo Education Association, Medea, and Mount Diablo Unified School District's initial successor agreement proposal to Medea.
Dr. Rubio.
Good evening, board members. We have before you our initial proposals for your information, one from the school district and one from the Mount Diablo Education Association from the teachers union. Again, tonight is for information, and then these two sunshining of their proposals and our proposals for which articles we would be looking at will come back to the next board meeting for your approval.
Are there any questions?
I do have questions. Just looking at the two sunshine agreements, it looks like so the district is sunshining 12 items and Medea is asking to sunshine 30. Is that correct? 30?
Almost 30, yes.
29. So I guess I'm surprised that there are so many, given that I've heard a lot of talk about the two sides both wanting to work very closely together to come to a quick agreement. And I hear what Ms. Jamison said about each one of these did come from their members, and I understand wanting to listen to your members and post everything. But when you have 29 articles, how much time would that potentially take?
I would say yes. That's good. That's a good question. It's always hard to know, and we do appreciate when we can collaborate. As Ms. Jamison was referring to, collaboration, which we've been very successful at recently and in the past. It could be a year and a half, and just depending on how much agreement we can find there. The teachers union is referencing the idea and concept of articles that aren't even in the contract regarding bullying, harassment, other types of things that might usually be concerns in the community that we already have board policy on. So with a list that long in length, my fear would be that if we can't come up with something more simple or reasonable, that we could be looking at a year to year and a half.
Okay, and so for the new ideas like racial justice, bullying and harassment, community schools, these are things in my mind that it wouldn't just be a particular bargaining unit and district leadership that would need to negotiate. They're topics that I think so far we've had a large community involvement. We have the ABAR committee, we have different groups that are engaging the entire community. So if you are negotiating with a particular union on an issue, can you bring the whole community in to be a part of that discussion? Is that a thing that?
Well, I think it would be very difficult, and it brings up a number of legal questions. In my mind, our focus is to be responsible for the areas that we have in the contract and things that are directly related to students and academic achievement and working conditions of the employees. I don't personally think, I know this is kind of a California Teacher Association, CTA tactic up and down the state to bring in other articles to maybe arguably, leverage students and parents and potentially interrupt the education of these children. So in my mind, I think our focus preferably would be to stay focused on students and the employees. So I don't think, to answer your question, that it's an easy task, and it's a legal question in my mind. How do you negotiate things for the broader that we don't typically negotiate with a working bargaining unit, and then somehow say, oh, now this applies to everybody else. So I appreciate the comments earlier about needing to respect employees and the Teachers Association. in my mind, as a school district, our mission is much broader. We have to respect and value all of our employees, regardless of bargaining unit, including our students and families. So we remain committed to being focused on classrooms and students, and we remain committed on the district's team to no interruption for our students and families.
Thank you.
Just you or does Medea?
Yeah, just make.
Okay,
No,
just
there's no
you.
public comment. Yeah.
All right.
It's information and we act on it next time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just for information.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
thank you. Meeting extension? No. So, any future agenda items anyone wants to bring up here?
I do have a question, a possible future agenda item. I've just noticed that on our agendas, we have the Pledge of Allegiance, but we don't actually list the land acknowledgement, even though we've been giving the land acknowledgements for a few years now.
Sneaking it in.
So I guess a future agenda item would be maybe to consider systematizing that by actually listing it on our agenda.
Anything else? That's probably, might not need to be an agenda item, but
Right.
no, what I mean is an agenda item to agenda, since we do this fee. Can we just agendize that?
Well, I will see the legally and
Oh,
if
right.
people do that and if other districts, I mean, that's kind of the things I do. Other districts who I know do land acknowledgements is listed out on their agenda and then
Mhm.
Cesar will check with the CSBA laws and stuff. Is that something that we can put on there or whatnot? and
Super.
Bring it to the board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, with that, our meeting is adjourned. We only have one thing to sign.